What's up, podcast? Before we start today's episode, I just want to make sure that you guys are following and subscribing all of our content at svaofamerica.com/assistance HQ. There you can find all of the latest and greatest content, podcasts, articles, and so much more. The link's going to be in the description, so make sure you don't ever miss a piece of content. It's a whole lot of assistance going on. And now, a moment from our sponsor. What's going on, podcast? Welcome back to the Ramblings. I'm your host, Angelo Roberts Jr., and you are in for another amazing episode. Obviously, as always, I have a lot to say. And I actually just thought of something as I was about to do this podcast. So I'm just going to get right into it. What I just thought of was I have normally been promoting my podcast via Anchor. And what I mean by that is I do my podcast and, release it and distribute it through Anchor. However, because I have it connected via Spotify to my website, I was thinking, what if I redirected traffic and put all of the links of saying my website /podcast, and then was able to draw people not only to my website, but listening to my podcast. I think that is an amazing idea. I'm going to start doing that because it loads on the website without having to open Spotify, because I think it uses Spotify. However, I'm not sure like the parameters of how that would go. So I'm going to look more into that. And that's like a genius idea, because as people, start to view the content from the podcast, they might be intrigued to go search around the website. So I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a great way to tie it, because I was told I need to tie everything to my website. So I'm going to go back, do a revamp of my social media kind of section and everything, so that it looks more appealing to the eye, so my bounce rate doesn't increase. Because I have like an 86% bounce rate. It is so high. I remember one week I had like 26%. I was so psyched. I was like, yo, I'm at 26%. If you guys don't know what a bounce rate is basically how many times somebody goes to your site and leaves after seeing the first page. So basically what they're saying is 86% of the people that go and visit my website leave after looking at whatever they seen on the first page of the website. Whatever they first seen, they leave usually after that. So my goal is to drop that, obviously. However, let's get into what I really want to talk about, because today's topic was brought up by somebody else, because I was absolutely dumbfounded on what I was going to talk about today, because I'm like, I want to bring some value, and I'm like, I have so much content coming up and I don't want to like spoil it or give like a pre-secret to it and everything, because I do have a lot coming up, and I really want to have like the fresh ideas and everything when I have that. So I'm going to start it like this. By show of head nods. Now, obviously, I can't see you guys, so you're going to have to either let me know by using hashtag The Ramble on any of your social media, hashtag Let's Ramble, or shoot me a message, or just nod your head. If you're listening, just nod your head if this counts to you. If you are an entrepreneur or a business owner and you offer a service or a product that nobody, and I mean nobody, else offers, nod your head. Don't worry, I'll wait. Not a lot of you probably nodded your head, because most people start businesses that are already made. So now, by round of heads, who has a business or a product or a service that is unique to your area? Nobody else in your area has it. So for example, say in your town, you opened up a Starbucks franchise and you were the only Starbucks in, say, a 50-mile radius. There are places like that. So if you were the only establishment of your kind in a 50-mile radius, nod your head. Probably a lot more head nods. The point is, so many people have the same service, the same product, or something very similar, something extremely similar, that they get discouraged because they're like, oh, other people are doing this. It's a oversaturated market. That doesn't really matter. And is it like it so almost doesn't matter? I'm gonna break it down because people like really try to rack their brain trying to come up with like a new business or something that has never been done. When the majority of people that open businesses and open are people that open businesses that other people have already thought of. How many wing spots do you need? How many Chinese restaurants do you need? How many fast food places? How many restaurants? How many corner stores? How many Dutch spots? How many, how many of these are like video games? Think of the different indie video game companies and everything that is out. There are so many of each kind that it really doesn't matter. Like, think of this. Even if you were the very first person to do what you did, and the most recent thing that I can think of is something like Uber. Let's take Uber. No one else was doing what Uber was doing. It was a rideshare company. Wow, Uber is huge because no one else is doing this. Then what happens? Then you have Lyft. And what is Lyft? Uber, but with Lyft. Like, I'm sure to the normal person who uses Uber or Lyft, you can't tell me what the biggest the difference between Uber and Lyft. Now they have small key features and everything. However, that's what has to be different in order to make it not so you can't be sued. So think of this. When you're going into whatever it is that you're trying to start, you have to be distinguishable. You have to have something that separates you from the rest. Who is great with that? A perfect example? Tesla. Now, we have had Toyotas, Hondas, Cadillacs, Fords, all of these cars since 1900s. Police cars have been Fords for the longest. We've had Mustangs for the longest. We've had Lamborghinis for a long time. We've had Porsches for a long time. Cadillacs have always been like around. Ford, all of this stuff. Then comes Tesla. Now, why would you buy a Tesla? You can go get a different car. This car is unique. It looks expensive. It's marketed towards high-class people. It looks futuristic. It has great technology in it. It is an all-electric car. All electric, no gas. There's hybrids. No, this is all electric. And then to top it all off, it's under like $40,000 for the car. It's a very inexpensive car. It's very affordable in terms of a car. So, especially the base model. So that's what separates Tesla from all the other cars. Tesla was able to come in and say, you know what? We are going to do a car, but everything different. What they want electric. They want it to have high mileage. They want it to look nice. It looks futuristic. They want it to be a luxury style car, and they want it to be affordable. They literally took almost every single aspect of distinction on why people go to somewhere else and mold it into one product. If you are going to do hair, everyone and their mom does hair. You have to distinct yourself from doing hair. So either you were the first person doing that kind of style in your area, you're the best person in your area doing that kind of style, you're the most relatable. You might have the best experience. You might have like a shop or setup or something like that where people are able to come and do, their hair there when they feel comfortable doing it. You might have the cheapest prices around. You might, for whatever reason that you're able to do, you're able to have the cheapest prices. And then chances are you're going to have, if it gets big enough, the corporate, we're not going to call them necessarily knockoffs, but the corporate versions of whatever you're doing. And that's really what you have in every market. Those are the big players. The best, the first, the most relatable, or whoever has the best experience, the cheapest person, the corporate versions of it, and then the mom and pop versions. So let me break it down in a way that you guys can all understand. We had TV. We had Comcast, Xfinity, all this stuff, and then all of a sudden things started going on demand. Like, oh, Xfinity, you have on demand. Before that, we had Blockbuster. Now, let's think. Blockbuster was first. They brought the movies to us, relatively. We had to go get the movies, but they took all of the movies that were out and brought them to us. Netflix comes along and says, hey, listen, we like what you're doing and we would like to make it better. We would like to integrate what we offer, our services, to what you guys offer. What did they say? They said, people will not watch TV or movies on a small screen. Sends them on their way. So Blockbuster is the very first, we're going to count them as first. They are the first people to bring DVDs or movies into a portable sense. Hey, we can go to the movie store and go get this stuff, right? However, then you have the best. So Netflix does the same thing Blockbuster does. Hey, we want to take a catalog of movies and bring it to the customer. However, instead of making the customer come to a store, we're going to put it on their computer. Before they even did that, they said, you know what? They can go online and order it. So they don't have to come to a store to pick it up. We're going to do exactly what Blockbuster does, except we're going to drop the DVDs off in their mailbox. Instead of them coming to the retail store, we're going to drop it off in their mailbox. Then they got even smarter because they're the best. Because think about it. They already beat Blockbuster in terms of their service and product by saying, we're not only going to give you the product, we're not going to make you come get it. We're going to make you can have longer days. You can have it for longer than you would have it at Blockbuster. Then they said, you know what? Everybody has a computer. We can put it on the computer. So now you don't even have to wait. We're going to cut out the wait time. So, as if Netflix didn't already cater to the lazy people, because 2 days is a long time to wait for a movie when you can go to Blockbuster and pick it up today. However, we're so lazy that we're like, you know what, if I order this on Wednesday, it'll get here and I never have to go to Blockbuster. So then we could do something like that. They said, you know what, we're going to take it even further. Just open up your laptop. Then you can watch it on your laptop, streaming straight to the laptop. They start going big now. Now they start making a lot of money. Now they start making some serious money. Hulu comes along. They're like, yo, they already had their own thing. Now, mind you, Netflix did what Blockbuster did, and then they turned and did what YouTube did. Because what does YouTube do? They put videos on the internet for you to watch on your laptop or streaming device. Netflix comes and does the exact same thing, but with their catalog. They distinguished themselves and said, instead of it being personal people, we're going to have it be everything that you like about TV and movies, but YouTube. So they said, you know what? We're going to start by bringing you a service similar to Blockbuster. And then we're going to advance that service by integrating something like YouTube. So when you have an idea or a product, don't be afraid if it's similar to somebody else's, because it's probably similar to someone else that you don't even know, let alone the person that you do know. That will never stop you. That will never stop you. Let me repeat that again for the people that don't listen. That will never stop you. Just because there are other people competing for the same customers that you are competing for does not mean that you cannot make money. Because if you don't feel like you can keep up with the competition, then guess what? You don't deserve to be in business anyway. Because let me tell you, every single business is fighting for the exact same customers. I brought this out in a previous podcast. If you're an artist and you want to get into someone's rotation, I don't care who you are. You could be a rapper, a rock star, a singer, a Latin artist, doesn't matter. You are competing for the exact same audience as every artist. Every artist has the exact same competition in the sense of there are people, there's a product, someone's gonna have to listen. Now, the people that listen to that kind of music is different. You can kind of select it by audience and how you listen to it, but they're still like, think about it. Nicki and Cardi are competing for the exact same audience. So either A, they're gonna listen to Nicki, B, they're gonna listen to Cardi, or C, they're gonna listen to both. Or it can be D, listen to none of the above. But it's usually A or B or C. So you're fighting for the same competition, but guess what? If it's C and that person listens to both Cardi and Nicki, someone else isn't getting playtime because you can only have so many hours in a day. So if you were to listen to a different artist every hour, that's 24 different artists. Everybody is not going to have the same 24 artists. However, the best ones are gonna be in multiple people's 24. So that's what it's like in a business. Think of it like this. I am from New Haven. So if you're familiar with the New Haven area, we have a strip. A lot of people have their own strip. I don't care. Think of your own strip. That's a common thing. Wherever there's a lot of establishments, think of that. Think of how many restaurants are on that establishment. I can think of a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a Burger King, a Subway, a Dunkin' Donuts, a Popeyes, a couple of diners, a Papa John's, a Domino's, and so much more. They are all competing for the exact same audience. Food is even way closer. That was terrible to say that. Food is so much more tight knit to try to break into because everyone relatively eats the same stuff. So if you were to take McDonald's, they sell the exact same thing as Wendy's, Burger King, and any place else that sells burgers. Why? Because they sell burgers and fries and chicken on bread, just like every other place. But it just is a little bit different. They do it a little bit different. But it's the same thing. So what makes you go to Wendy's? What makes you go to McDonald's? What makes you go to wherever you get your food from? So wherever you get your food from, there's a reason on why you go, whether it be the cheapest place you go, because, hey, this is cheap. They bring the most value or the best experience. Hey, I can get a 4 for $4. I get 4 items for $4. That's a great value. They can be the cheapest. Now, McDonald's isn't cheap anymore. But back in the day, a dollar could get you a lot. So it might have been the cheapest. They could be the best. Now, all of these things can at some point overlap. I personally think out of all the fast foods, Wendy's is the best. They also have the best value. So it really depends on your reason for going there. Now, why do people go to your business? That's the question. And that's what branding is. The people have to know, why should I go to you? Because everybody already has a routine. Most of the people that you're trying to sell to or market your product to, they already have that itch filled. They already have that scratch filled for somebody. And I'm going to use me for an example. I'm a virtual assistant. A lot of people that I would market to probably have an in-house assistant, someone there to actually probably pick up the calls and everything. However, what separates me from my competition? I'm cheaper because of the value, and I bring value. Not only am I cheaper and bring value, I don't take up as much space. So now there's different incentives. There's no taxes attached to me when you pay me. So versus a singular employee that probably has idle time on the clock, there's a whole bunch of different factors. You got to pay taxes on them. You got to take them through a hiring process, and then they only do what you hire them to do. If you get a social media manager, they're only going to do social media management. They're not going to make sure that your bookkeeping is done. If you get a bookkeeper, they're not going to make sure your social media is done. As a virtual assistant, I bring the value of doing both for the same price. There's no trade-off. So if you're paying me $38 an hour, you can have me do bookkeeping and then have me do social media and then have me do emailing and administrative duties because I have that flexibility. And then you can work from wherever because I am a remote worker. So I can capitalize on a time like this where, hey, no one is able to really be in an office or anything, but if you had a virtual assistant, you would still be able to get work done. So it's about distinguishing yourself and bringing, most importantly, value. Now you can have a different idea of value. Someone's idea of value might be the cheapest. If you are catering to an audience that prefers to save money, would like to live more on the frugal side, for them, that's value. It's not about, oh, this is the cheapest option. For them, the cheapest option means that's value. So that means you're also the most valuable option, which is why I said these keys can overlap. Because if you bring value to somebody else, and for whatever reason that you bring value, it might overlap with you being the best. So if you were to take a restaurant, usually those little local ones like mom and pop ones, the seafood broil place I had the other day is pretty good. And if enough people rave about it, your social status is what will consider you the best. So I hate to say it, and I really, really hate to say it. However, based on branding, Apple has done probably the best job of all the cell phones in making their customer believe that they are the best. I hate talking to people that have iPhones and think they have the best phone. While they don't have the best phone technology-wise, Apple has done such a good job at branding them as a superior phone in luxury that having an iPhone is a talking point. Oh, you don't have an iPhone. That's a point to talk about right there. Why is that? Because Apple has branded themselves so spectacularly that it's the preferred phone. You don't even have to be able to afford it. Most of you can't afford it, but you still purchase it because of the name. And then there's a disdain when someone doesn't have it because it's like, oh, why don't you have it? I assume these things because you don't have an iPhone. That's branding. However, market-wise, Samsung has a lot of the market cap share worldwide. That's because they bring the most value to a broader audience. So it really depends on who you're targeting and what their needs and wants are. Because whatever service you bring, whatever product you are trying to sell, somebody else does that. So you really have to take the time, especially in 2020. Like, it's not like you have the advantage of being in like 1950 where you might be the first person to do something and you can jump onto it. Like, if you started McDonald's in like 1800s or something like that, you would have been before McDonald's. And then again, okay, so McDonald's did that. Or if you started, a warehouse company early in like the early 1900s, 1800s or something, you might have beaten out Costco. So it's being in 2020, the issue is we already have a lot of established businesses. However, because it's 2020, the barrier to entry into business is extremely low. So that's really been the trade-off. So back in the day, it was an extreme high entry barrier. Like, you really had to either be wealthy or get a loan in order to make something happen back then. Now, because of the internet and the amount of people that are already in business and every market being basically oversaturated, like, think of how fast the tech market got oversaturated. Like, it went from, oh, you're a nerd, to now everyone wants to do tech because they want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. Markets are always going to be oversaturated. However, now, as stated, they have low barrier to entry. It takes absolutely nothing to start a business. I started a business from my laptop. Most people have started businesses from their phone. Tyler Perry started a business from his car. Was homeless at one point. So the barrier to entry because of the internet, The Weeknd, homeless. Songs later, Grammys. But there has to be talent and hard work. Work ethic and effort have not changed. That's really has, if anything, you have to have more now because there are so many businesses. It's not like you can rely on the fact that, oh, the product sells itself. That's cool. There's 5 other products like that that can sell itself. What makes yours unique? So you have to really hone in on, what's the word I'm looking for? The branding. There we go. Oh my gosh. You have to really focus on the branding because that's what 2020 business is about. It's about branding, you know? Hold on. The best companies are constantly marketing. Think of this. How many times do you see a commercial for McDonald's or Applebee's or something like that? Something that you've already seen, like Apple. Why do I need to have an Apple commercial? Does Apple really need to have a commercial? If they tweeted, hey, we have a new phone coming out. That's it. If all they did was tweet it, we have a new phone coming out, people would run with it. No, literally, they would have to do nothing. Like, think about this. Artists, it used to do huge promotions around music. Artists literally used to do like, releases and snippets and all this other stuff to create hype around an album. All of a sudden, Beyonce does a surprise release album and drops an album. And because her clout is so big and because her fan base is so loyal that every single one of them is going to listen to the song. Like, I'll say that. I think Beyonce has a 100% fan base. They listen to, I think if Beyonce has 2 million fans, I think if she drops a song, every single one in all 2 million of those fans would listen. That's how strong the fan base is. But that's why the surprise album dropped. And that's why it was able to work. So then the goal for artists since that point has been about branding. So then I can drop music without having to now spend money around the promotion around it. Because my brand is so popping that it can get me to a point where I don't have to use promotion. My name carries. That's why Drake was able to just, hey, Drake dropped an album. Do you know how fast people find out about that because of word of mouth now on social media? Literally, someone else found out about the album, and in their finding out about the album, they said, oh, snap. They said, hey, Drake dropped an album. I just happened to be on FaceTime type of thing with them, and I'm like, oh, snap, Drake dropped an album? They're like, yeah. So in that instance, information traveled from one person to another, and in that same instant traveled to me. That's how fast it is. So the goal for your business should be the same work ethic that you should put into your branding. It's almost like a no-brainer. Think about it. If you have a large loyalty or a large fan base, and you have a product, let's say nails. If you dropped a new set of nails and you have a loyal fan base like Beyonce, let's just call it $500,000. Oh, time to break out the calculator. All right, so I have broken out my calculator on my phone. So we're going to do a small business, right? Now, most of you probably don't know her, but I am a fan of this entrepreneur named Atira Lyons. She sells do-rags. Pretty doggone expensive do-rags at that. $45 for a piece to go on your head. Now, she has turbans and other things and everything, but as a guy, I wear do-rags. So we're going to go on the price because they're all relatively the same. So we're going to take a high and low end and say $30 for a product, okay? So if she sells $30 products, right? She has a high fan base and she sells out. She sells out, and that's why I'm using her, because when she drops a product, she sells out. And she's not doing commercials or anything, which means she has a loyal fan base. So when she goes on Twitter, it says, hey, I'm doing this new product, which she's an amazing entrepreneur. She's only like 20 years old, but when I tell you she's an amazing entrepreneur, she's an amazing entrepreneur. She has gone from do-rags to now doing furniture in a matter of like 2 years, guys. Do-rags to furniture. Such beauty in the craft. Oh my gosh, I love her stuff. Anyway, she always sells out. I got my handy dandy calculator. So $30 per product. She sells out. Let's say, because she's known, actually, while I have you guys, let's do this. Let's do a live search podcast. Now, I don't know how, I think I should start doing these live searches. So, Atira Lyons on Twitter. Let's see how many followers she has on Twitter. 77,000 followers, okay? And she has her own store officially coming. So she has 77,000 followers. So let's just say 25% of her followers are purchasers, okay? That's a low number, right? So let's break the calculator out. Let's take out this 30, okay? So 77,000 followers. 77,000 followers. Let's multiply that by 0.25. You get 19,250. So if 25% of her followers are purchasers, that is 19,250 customers. This is why we're going to talk about branding. So let's say this. She has a customer base of 20,000. Let's round it up because I'm sure it's probably more. However, let's say that. She has a customer base of 20,000. So that means she has to be able to produce 20,000 do-rags to sell to all 20,000 customers. Now that's a lot. She's just getting a store. It may not be that number. Let's just say of those 20,000 purchasers that have, are purchasers of her product at one point or another or on a continuous basis, reoccurring customers, we're going to say are 8,000. So of that 20,000, 8,000 are reoccurring customers. We're going to multiply that number by 30. So if she has an $8,000 customer base. So we're going to say she fulfills 8,000 orders in a month. That's 2,000 orders a week. I believe she might be doing something like that. Let's see. If she is doing 8,000 customers a week, not a week, I'm sorry, a month. If she's doing 8,000 customers a month, that is $240,000 a month. So, I mean, you do the math. That's literally 8,000 people. 8,000 people. Think about that. 8,000 people are in America. Let's see what percentage that is. So live search population in America. 328 million. 328 million. Now let's divide that by 8,000. 41,000. Okay. Flip. I just forgot the math on how to find a percent of something. Oh, other way around. 8,000 divided by 328 million. That is less than a percent, my guy. Less than a percent. Less than a percent of America buys her stuff. If less than 1% of America were to buy this woman's do-rags or product at $30 a pop, that would be $240,000 a month, making her a millionaire. I feel like I need to have one of those. If I got, listen, man, these numbers, I'll tell you, oh my gosh, if I could service, I charge $38 an hour, right? So if I could get 1 hour from 8,000 people, that's $304,000 for whatever time period. And she charges 45. So let's see, 45 times that 8,000. $360,000 a month, or in whatever time frame she can get that. So that's why it's about distinction. You have to distinguish yourself. from the rest of the competition, because it's competition. And if you don't treat it like competition, guess what? They are. It's a sad truth. They're treating it like competition. So if you want to separate yourself from the competition, guess what? You're going to have to separate yourself, distinguish yourself, be different, and don't be scared. Hey Ramblers, before you go, make sure you're following us on social media at Assistance HQ across the board for all content and exclusives. And for an even more personal touch, subscribe to our weekly newsletter with the link in the description.